I'm Kaisman and welcome back to my channel, and we're back again with another Love is a Blind recap and review. If you haven't watched my other video for Brett and Tiffany, please see it linked up here that we can see a little bit more about what I'm doing, a little bit more about the season. I'm Kaisman. Like I said, I do commentary, lifestyle, and review channels. Right now I'm really doing reality, and this time around we're focusing on Love is Blind season 4. Each video I'm going to be doing for episodes 1 through 5 is me focused on a new engaged couple. I did Brett and Tiffany. This video is going to be about Micah and Paul. I think the next one's about, I'm doing it in each order of the engagements. I think the next one's going to be Kwame and Chelsea, if I'm remembering correctly. If you like that kind of content, please give the video a like and a subscribe. Let me know your downs below. Do you like this format? Do you like the breakdown of sitting more with the couples and like really diving deeper into their relationships, or do you just want to go blur through a whole entire episode? Because I can do that too. How about that? Let's get into Micah and Paul. I am not sure if it's Micah or Micah. It changes every time. I think she says Micah, or maybe she says Micah, or maybe she says Kwame says Micah. You know what? Enough about that. So we have Micah. Micah is 27, marketing manager from Seattle. One thing, I looked her up in LinkedIn because I'm always curious about this. So she had a job from earlier last year, and then it ended in July, and I'm assuming she had to quit her job due to filming. That's something I'm always fascinated about. I wish more people's talked about, is how people keep up with their full-time jobs but also doing the show. Like, I could probably get like maybe 2 weeks, if I had no vacation days. I probably could convince them to do 2 weeks, but then I'd start being remote, so it'd have to be very like flexible, and I don't know if I could fully commit to it, you know. Like, I'm sure it's a very rare job that lets you fully outdo that. And she started a new job with Salesport, also remote, in December, so I'm guessing the show filmed from July to December based on her LinkedIn. Another fun little tidbit that's a fun fact to me and a fun fact to you, is that she was an Alpha Gamma Delta when she was in college at Washington State, which is the same sorority I was in college. Like, I swear, like, I'm nice. I know a lot of I know a good number of other nice girls, so I don't think we're a bad one. But it's just funny because no one's ever from our sorority. Like, we're big, but like we're bigger in like the South, so it's like very fascinating. And then we have Paul, who is a 29-year-old environmental scientist who's a self-described nerd, but like he flirts with everyone. So I'm like, you can't be that nerdy, sir. You're like, your game is on point. Like, you're pulling all the girls. Like, you're these jokes about getting married. Like, Paul, you have game. Calm down. One thing we have to talk about with Paul and Micah is that they both have other relationships outside of each other. Unlike Brett and Tiffany, who are each other's day ones, that's not the case for Paul and Micah. Paul is initially very interested in Amber, who's a flight attendant. They share a passion for flights. She has a very sultry voice that he loves, but she's also been divorced twice, which is fascinating. Not fascinating, but just it's interesting because it's a real thing that happens to people, but you don't think people are that young. She's 34, so I guess it gives her a good time to get divorced. And we have Micah, who's really into Kwame. I'll talk mostly, I think, about Kwame and Micah's episode on the Kwame Chelsea video, just because it's a little bit harder to split out this type of thing from separately, because like they're kind of like the same parts of one side, but I'm gonna be focusing on like the Micah video. I'm gonna be focusing more on like her perspective of it and how it impacts her relationship with Paul, and then I'm gonna focus on what Kwame does and how that impacts his question with Chelsea. That's like the approach I'm going to be taking. Kwame, who initially was going by Alex, I looked this up. His full name is Alex Kwame something. So some people in there are making it seem like he was just going to like completely go by a whitewash name. No, his name is Alex Kwame. They're both parts of his name. He just wanted to lean more into the Alex side, so he didn't have to have his blackness, which is its own problem we can talk about in his video. But yeah, didn't love that, but Love is Blind, I guess. If it's your prerogative to hide your race, sure. I guess I feel like you'd only do that if you wanted to like get not your own race, you know what I'm saying? But you know, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Micah feels very validated from Kwame off the bat. She's very joking with Paul, so she didn't really take him seriously initially. But Kwame, she feels very validated and like loved. And I think that's one of the big narratives I'm seeing this season. It's a lot about how the other person makes them feel versus what they feel for the other person, which we all should know isn't really love. Mecca does tell Kwame that things are moving really slowly with Paul. She keeps describing her relationship with Paul as like a very slow burn because she hasn't, like, from off the get-go had this big chemistry that she's had with Kwame, but she's still not ready to cut off Paul completely, which I'm like, okay. At first I'm like, all right, sure, like that seems fine. But she also tells Kwame that doesn't want him to explore other relationships. So it's like, you can't have the best of both worlds. You're not Hannah Montana. You are not. Kwame is basically, I'm like ready to propose to you. Micah goes back and tells Arena and Micah, I feel like they should have their own little video that I'll probably do about them because they're a little fascinating little pair. So Arena tells like Micah, she's like, why are you like jumping into this quickly? Like, why is he trying to like lock you down so quickly? It's because he has competition. Like, we've only been a few days. Like, there's no reason for him to propose all quick. Which she's right. But also, she raises a good point, though, about, like, where did Paul come out of all of a sudden? Because I think that's not clear how, like, Paul rose the rank so quickly to the point where she's, like, comparing Paul and Kwame. Like, where'd that happen, girl? Like, I just want to know. There is, like, a little bit of mean girliness that comes out between Arena and Micah, which is a theme throughout the whole entire show at this point. But this is the very first core moment where I'm like, okay. That's you. That's fine. That's you. But like, that's not a great look. And I think what's really the tea here is that Micah knows that she has won Kwame. No matter if Kwame is between Chelsea or not, Micah knows that she won Kwame. She could have had Kwame. She does not know that she could have Paul. She wants Paul because Amber's still in the picture. She's still trying to see, it's like, oh, can I get Paul? Can I get him to give up Amber? Can I do that? Because like, if I can do that, that means like I've won, and like he's the right person. Like, I've like won the best guy at that point. And it shouldn't, your feelings for someone should not be that way just because you know you got them compared to someone else. Like, that's not how relationships or feelings should work at all. Paul and Amber, I like Paul and Amber. They just seem like really like goofy, go lucky, like just here for a good time people, and I really think that's a fun relationship dynamic for people at work. So in the pods, you can decide to plan a date or like ask the producers to bring you stuff for a date. So Amber wants to do a cute little Mardi Gras date. I think she's initially from Louisiana, but also Paul's from Louisiana, so I think it's a cute little moment. And like Paul gets her flowers, and like she's out of the pods back in like the little woman's quarters, and she's so happy. She's like, look at my flowers, like tulips. And I was like, that's so cute. Initially, Irina's like, oh, that's so cute. I'm so glad that for you. But then Micah's like, no, she's on a date with Paul. And then Irina's like, oh, yeah, we hate her. Stupid little flowers. Like, Mardi Gras date's so stupid. And I was like, ma'am, just a few seconds ago, you were all gung-ho and thought, like, you're so happy for her. Like, why are we flipping the switch? Why are you flipping the switch? Like, you can't just be hot and cold like that, ma'am. Like, let it be. Paul and Kwame are having a discussion, as all the guys do, and Kwame's like, yeah, Micah's definitely my number one. And I think this is the moment where Paul's like, oh, okay, there's a lot of outward pressure, so I think we're getting to the point where Paul's like, okay, maybe I should go ahead and pursue Micah, like, because she has someone else in the back. Like, okay, if I don't go now, like, she's going to end up with him, so, like, he's pressing it. Micah tells Paul that she feels like he's not all in because Amber's still around, but I'm like, Micah, Kwame's still around. So she's like, you know, if you're really willing to commit to me, I'm willing to dump Kwame today. Like, you just need to confirm with me. And he's like, okay, yeah, like, I can do that. I'm ready to propose with you. But I'm like, you literally just told Kwame you are all in with him. You could see yourself marrying him. Like, you can't, like, have it both. And I know in the real world, like, you would not have dated multiple people at the same time to get to the point where you're like feeling this deep about someone, but you can't have the same narrative messaging. You have to like let people in that you're like dating in this kind of environment to let them know about the other things you're feeling. That way they're not like blindsided when you're like, hey, just letting you know, like, I'm gonna be something else, sorry. No, it's not okay. Micah goes and tells Kwame she's not longer interested, and it's like kind of sad though because Kwame's like so happy and like upbeat, like always like so happy, and she's just like, yeah, I think it's best that like I'm gonna pursue the slow burn, and I think it's best that we just pursue our other relationships out here, okay? And Kwame's just like, yeah, wish you the best. And like she's upset with it. She goes to Arena and she's like, for someone who's like said that he like was obsessed with me, loved me, he like, he took it like really quickly, he took it really well, like why? But like she's laughing at first. I'm like, you're literally like upsetting this man and breaking his heart, but you're like, just having a fun little goofy good time. Paul breaks up with Amber, and like he does not do it well, like at all, because initially I think Amber thinks he's going to tell her that like he's really interested in her and wants to propose and wants to just talk a little bit more. But no, he's like, yeah, I'm going to pursue something else. And Amber's like, what? And she's like like blindsided, because like he made no indications that he wasn't interested in her. There was one moment where Amber was talking about one of her exes and how like he cheated on her, and Paul asked her, would you ever cheat? And she's like, no, but like I feel like where I was in that relationship, like I probably could have gotten the point where I would have was there. And I feel like she was being honest, and Paul was like, oh yeah, because like I don't love that, I don't like believe you. And she's like, I've never cheated on you. I was like, I don't believe you though. And she's like, no, I'm just saying I would have left before I got to that point, before, but like I felt like I was in that dynamic, that it was something I would not do that to you, but like I was there. And she was just being honest and being real. But thinking about Paul immediately went to like, oh, she would like cheat, she's not like great. And that was like the breaking moments, like the relationship, where it was like, oh, maybe he does not think she would be the best fit because of that one comment. There probably was others, but I think that was like one of the bigger ones. Micah cannot understand though why it's taking Paul so long to break up. She's like, it took me like 5 minutes to break up with Kwame. I was like in and out in like 30 seconds. And it's like, yeah, that was like disrespectful. That was disrespectful. As someone who has sat through a 2-hour breakup, you just have to like deal with it sometimes. You know, you can't just like callously be like, yeah, we're done. You have to engage with someone, we want to have a conversation, not just like, hey, bye. Unless like they did you dirty and it was toxic, the other person deserves to have a conversation with you. Okay. Paul ends up proposing to Micah. She says yes. They do their big reveal. They hug, but like something's off. You can tell that Paul's really happy, but Micah's like a little standoffish, not like crazily so, but like not super feeling it. We do learn once we get to Mexico that she does not want to be physically intimate with Paul, and she does say that he is not the kind of guy that she would typically go for. So she does not feel like she feels like they're best friends, but there's not really like sexual attraction there. And I'm like, okay, recipe for disaster. I think that you can develop a physical connection with someone once you know them emotionally. We've seen that with like Married at First Sight. But the problem with the show like Love is Blind, you're starting with that emotional connection, and it's like once you see someone physical, if it's not there, it's never going to be there, because you already should have that physical strong bond and see the attractiveness in the person. But if you're not seeing it, it's not there. And I honestly got the vibes from Mecca that she's one of the girls who only dates black guys, because how she's interacting with Kwame and like really flirtatious with him, and she's like, ugh, Kwame, like she's like literally like giggling when she sees him. She's like obsessed. And I'm like, you could have chosen him, but you didn't. I don't know why you didn't, but you didn't. You could have had him. But I guess that's the problem. Like, you knew you could have had him, so that's why you didn't want him. It wasn't a challenge for you. And Ball starts flirting with Arena, which is really weird. And I'm like, Arena girl, why are you flirting with Paul? My final thoughts from like this batch of like this episodes with them is just like, I don't know why they're a couple. I really don't. Like, let me know if you believe in them as a couple or they made sense. Like, I just feel like they kind of like fell into each other. I feel like the fact that Mika keeps validating Kwame that she was like super N is untrue. Like, it's not accurate at all. If you want to see my thoughts on the Kwame video, please see that linked up here. Depending on where this comes out, you might have this video, you may not, but probably time you like the algorithm pushes out and like how I will have these edited and released, there'll probably be an episode you can go see to the Kwame and Chelsea stuff. And I'll make sure to comment in like the description where we talk about the Kwame Chelsea stuff, Kwame Mika stuff. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna last. I think for some strange reason, I think that Kwame and Mika will end back together. I also think that Paul and Arena will fall in love and Darn to the Sunset. Wouldn't that be crazy if we had like a season of Love is Blind where like there was actually 5 couples and like they just all, but not the initial 5 couples? That'd be wild stuff. Alright, that's all I have for this one, guys. Please give me a like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like Paul? Do you like Mika? Do you like Mika and Paul together? Do you think that Mika should have chosen Kwame? I would love to know your thoughts. I have my thoughts. You've just seen them, but I'd like to know yours too. Alright, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.